I've been working at U.S. Fish and Wildlife on two major cases over the past year. There are additional smaller cases that I've been working on, but those haven't really had much comment from the Fish and Wildlife, so they haven't really resulted in major impact to marine resources. The two cases are the grounding of the MV Cape Flattery and the subsequent removal and the damage that it caused to an area near Barber's Point or Kalealoa Harbor. This is a National Resource Damage Assessment, or NRDA case. It follows the regulations of the Oil Pollution Act of 1990. The second case is looking at harbor improvements that are planned at Kalealoa Harbor. And this is slightly different. It's following the National Environmental Policy Act. So this is really the result of a major accident, and this is kind of a planned approach. So there are two different regulations involved. Both of the projects, interestingly, occur in similar geographic proximity, so they're kind of related to some extent. Here's the entrance channel to Barber's Point Harbor. This is where the grounding of the Cape Flattery occurred. It's here on West Oahu. This is an image of the grounding of the Cape Flattery. This white area that you see right here is all scraped carbonate from hull damage from the ship. You can again see that here in this aerial photograph. The ship is 170 meters long. It was carrying approximately 30,000 tons of powdered concrete. Had to be offloaded, which also ended up spilling into the water. A major mistake that was made in the protocol of removing this ship was that they failed to follow procedure, and the salvage company did not have lines that were equipped with flotation devices. So the lines were swept along the bottom of the substrate and did a great deal more damage. So the grounding occurred in February. It was on the reef for 10 days. Luckily, it didn't break up. And damage is estimated to occur across 79,000 square meters, which corresponds to roughly 19.5 acres. So really, it's an unprecedented level of physical damage in this type of a case, in recent history at least. The lead agency in this case is NOAA, handling the National Resource and Damage Assessment. The NRDA has three different phases. The first is a preliminary assessment, which involves the trustee agencies, which is Fish and Wildlife, NOAA, and the state DAR specifically. The first step is really to determine the injury, whether it's occurred or not, what steps need to be taken next. The second step is injury assessment and restoration planning. In this phase, the injury is quantified and restoration is planned. The restoration projects have to be scaled defensively to the size of the injury using this habitat equivalency analysis framework. And I'm going to explain that in just a little bit more depth later. This phase is where we're at right now. The injury assessment has really been completed by work mainly by Dr. Stephen Kalinsky at NOAA. And we're currently involved in the restoration planning. That's the work that I've been involved in. But I can't really get into a lot of details about what the projects are because this is all for a negotiation and settlement purposes with the responsible party. But I'll try to talk about it as much as I can. The next phase is restoration implementation, and really the costs of that restoration depend on what the needs are. And there's a real challenge there because you really have to tie it and scale it to the injury, and you really have to demonstrate how you can save or restore corals at a site, which is a tremendous challenge. So the preliminary assessment was done by Steve Kalinsky and at NOAA and with cooperation from Fish and Wildlife and the state of Hawaii. Compared reference and impact sites. There wasn't really good data at the site prior to the impact. This is an example of the impact versus the reference sites. Teams went in the water and surveyed fish data. They surveyed invertebrates. They surveyed algal data. They also identified corals to the species and measured the longest coral diameter. And the findings were that approximately greater than 1 million coral colonies are estimated to have been destroyed, greater than 15,000 urchins and guard crabs, 5,000 square meters of crustose coralline algae, and there was significantly lower rugosity in the impact zone, and that's despite the inclusion of coral debris that was there. There's also significant loss of fish in the shelf pavement area where the vessel had impacted